Our relationship with the Navy may not go back 250 years, but it's still significant, including our connections to this great ship. This is USS Arizona off the California coast in the 1930s. This Civil War naval gun, it's a 32-pound Dahlgren gun, is in the San Luis Cemetery. It's the main armament for this ship, USS Jamestown, during the Civil War. And this sailor, buried in the Rio Grande Cemetery, served on the Jamestown. The dapper-looking Bill Ash, by the time of the Civil War, had acquired the requisite tattoos. He had his initials on one hand and a ballerina on the other. Jamestown's mission during the war was in the Bering Sea to protect the whaling fleet there from Confederate commerce raiders. This is Theodore Roosevelt's Great White Fleet, painted white to signify goodwill and a little menace. 13 battleships that sailed around the world on a goodwill tour. And they sailed to San Luis Obispo County. Sort of. This is the Great White Fleet in San Luis Bay, Avila Bay. And as you can see here, what they did was an enormous U-turn. Sailed out to sea again and north to Monterey. There is a persistent and dastardly rumor, which I choose to cultivate, that they stayed the few days before with Santa Barbarans. And I think they had partied so hearty that they didn't have time for San Luis Obispo County. Poor us. But the Navy made up for it big time in 1925. 3 destroyers visited Pismo Beach. There was a dance to honor the sailors, a banquet for the officers. School was let out so that little kids could tour the ships like this one. This is the destroyer USS Paul Hamilton. And the people who hosted the banquet read like a who's who of Rio Grande. Dr. Brown, whose office is today a pediatrician's office on Traffic Way. Ivan Loomis' son, E.C. Loomis and son, Ed Pearl, a host of others who were important businessmen and civic leaders in Rio Grande. But this ship was here in October 1925 as well. Out in San Luis Bay, the battleship New Mexico was once the queen of the Atlantic Fleet for the expertise of her gunnery. But here she is on the Pacific coast in 1925. The ship was completely modernized after Pearl Harbor. Believe it or not, this is the same ship, New Mexico, after her renovation. She provided cover for the landing of Marines on Guam in 1944, including this Marine. This is Max Belko, who was the Rio Grande Union High School football and basketball coach. You can see his team manager, Haru Hayashi, just below. And at Saipan, she also provided covering fire for the Marines who landed there, including that young man. That's Archie Harlow, who's the son of the school teacher, Margaret. Less glamorous in 1924, the Prometheus, the ship on top, visited Pismo Beach as well. Prometheus was by then a repair ship, and she had a twin, Vestal, on the bottom. And Vestal has a bigger role in history, including in ours. It's taken from a Japanese plane during the attack on Pearl Harbor. And that's USS Arizona in the Oval, and Vestal, the repair ship, just outboard. And what you're watching, essentially, is the death of an Rio Grande sailor. This is Jack Scruggs. You can see the puffs off the stern of Arizona. Jack was a trombonist in Navy Band 22, the ship's band. And they were gathering for the colors ceremony and the playing of the national anthem when the concussion from those near hits killed Jack Scruggs. He'd learned to play music as a little boy in Arroyo Grande. Unlikely as it seems, there was another Arroyo Grande sailor killed that morning, and he's on top. Wayne Morgan's father owned the Ford agency that's today's ice cream parlor. So that's Wayne on top, an able seaman, and the bandsman on the bottom, his friend Jack Scruggs, in second grade at the Arroyo Grande Grammar School. The only ship to get underway that day was Nevada, being cheered as she passed. She tried to make a run for the channel exit, but had to beach herself on Waipo Point instead, damaged by torpedoes and bombs. There's a Pismo Beach connection to Nevada, and it's to the Shell Cafe. Melvin Van Kuren, before the war, washed dishes at the Shell Cafe. He joined the Navy because he wanted to be a cook, so they made him a machine gunner instead. He was serving on Nevada that morning and is credited with shooting down the first Japanese attacking plane. Sadly, the Shell, which is today's Oasis Cafe in Pismo, is about to be demolished. San Francisco Exposition in 1939 on Treasure Island. And Arroyo Grandians could catch the bus at French's Cafe. Today it includes Klondike Pizza. And for $7.30, go up, visit, and be brought home again in relative comfort. For some of those Arroyo Grandians, this is what they would have seen. This is incredible footage from British Pathé.
Nine sleek seagoing fortresses of Uncle Sam's battle fleet slipped through the Golden Gate, one of the mightiest armadas that ever entered San Francisco Bay. More than 40,000 officers and men are aboard, slated for a visit of 17 days. Under the Golden Gate Bridge, into the bay, and past grim Alcatraz prison, the battle wagons steam. Then comes a scene few Americans have ever witnessed. 4 of the Navy's 6 aircraft carriers in line together. The movement of the Pacific Fleet coincides with rising tension over the situation in the Far East after Admiral Yarnell, commander of the American China Squadron, told Japanese that the duty of United States vessels is to protect American citizens any time and any place.
Sadly, a third of the ships who visited the exposition would be heavily damaged or sunk during the war that was coming in 2 years. This is the carrier Lexington. And the war hit home. This is the destroyer escort Walk, leaving San Francisco Bay for the last time in April 1942. One of her sailors was named Felix Extebal. He worked at the Waller Seed Farms, wrote the most delightful letter home I have ever read to his foreman at Waller, Javier Pantaleon. You thought, as you were reading Felix's letter, that you would have liked to have served with this guy. Walk was sunk in November 1942 off Guadalcanal in a body of water so dense with wrecks that it became known as Iron Bottom Sound. Another victim that went to the bottom in Iron Bottom Sound was a heavy cruiser. This is USS Northampton, hit by a Japanese long-lance torpedo just off Guadalcanal. The official historian, the naval historian of World War II, Samuel Eliot Morrison, wrote that this light cruiser, Honolulu, was just a beam of Northampton when the torpedo hit. Morrison said that the explosion was so violent that the bridge crew on Honolulu burst into tears. we have a connection to Northampton. They called themselves the Norahs, and they wanted to honor an officer they lost that night. Donald Runnels was Napomo born, living in Santa Maria at the time of the war. And the Norahs got their wish. This is the USS Donald Runnels.